All right, so we have Zakil with us. Zakil, should I call you Suresh or Zakil? Or how should I address you?
Zakil, Zakil. You
Zakil?
can call Zach.
Zach.
That's
Okay.
how, yeah.
So we have Zach from BitSave, and BitSave is a crypto index fund. So we'll talk about what is this crypto index fund and how is it better in terms of investing and what's your strategy? How do you go about using users fund so that they get maximum returns? But let's talk about a little bit about you so that people know who are you, where do you come from. So could you like take us through like in shortest way possible your crypto journey so far?
I'll try to keep it as short as possible. First of all, thank you so much, Shiv. I know we've been trying to schedule it, for some time. I vaguely have memories of meeting you in Mumbai a couple of times around, CoinEx period. So other than that, I don't think we've not really interacted much. But yeah, finally glad to be on the show, and yeah, thank you for that. Uh, about myself, 2014, end of 2014 is when I discovered Bitcoin. I was doing my CA internship, and like most of the crypto founders out there, I don't come from a tech background. Like, I come purely from a finance background. I was doing my internship. That's when I started reading about Bitcoin. There's a specific reason why it fascinated me, or caught my interest, was because that was a period of my career where I was dealing or doing transaction for our clients, right, during the internship. And you know how SBI net banking works. If you enter the password wrong incorrectly for 3 times, or maybe if it's a weekend or whatever, you can't even touch your funds for 24 hours. Weekend, forget about moving the funds. So that was a genuine problem that I was going through at that particular point of time. So when I read about Bitcoin and understood the fact that it's borderless, it's up 24/7, there's no party controlling it, it made a lot of sense to me. But it was very early, back then. I think we were just like a $5 billion industry. So, with whatever minimum knowledge that we had, I mean, when I say we, I have two more people who are actually working with me at BitSave, Asif and Vishnu. So all three of us, we started putting in little money here and there with whatever our stipends, scholarships, and all that. I think Zeppe, Unocoin, and CoinSecure, these were the major exchanges that were available in India back then. If I'm not wrong, the first purchase happened on CoinSecure, and we kept buying, with whatever little money possible over that period of time. In 2017 is when I had completed my internship. I was preparing for my finals. So that is when the bull market, the 2017-18 bull market was beginning. And we were lucky enough to buy some ether around 2016 period. So we had some ether lying down with us, and all the exchanges in India, they just had Bitcoin. Like, let's say they were not really multi asset exchanges, but the demand for ether was going up. So we sensed an opportunity. So we were like, okay, we set up a small brokerage, kind of a setup where we were helping people to buy and sell Ethereum. And we were sourcing liquidity from some of the, there was this exchange called ETHEX India in India, and some of the foreign exchanges. So that's how our, actively being involved in the space that happened around mid of 2017. 2 to 3 months into it, that's when CoinEx was announced. CoinEx was announced as the first multi-asset exchange of India. So we had a conversation, and they were looking for people to provide liquidity on the exchange. So I still keep bragging about it. But the thing is, I placed the first order on CoinEx.
Oh, wow.
On 25th of August, the first ever order was placed by me on CoinEx. And we ended up helping them with a bunch of stuff like testing, support, product level stuff. So after 2 to 3 months, we realized that most of our bandwidth is actually going for CoinEx. So why don't we just go and work with them full time? So me and Asif, we joined the team. First Jan 2018 is when we both joined CoinEx in Mumbai. Asif was taking care of some operational stuff. I was more into listings, market analysis, product level things. So it was a very, how things turned out after that, right? I mean, obviously the RBI Circular came, and from whatever, I mean, we were operating at such a huge scale, so that we did not really. It was very difficult for us to scale through that period of not having a banking support and all that. So we took that hard decision mid of 2019 to shut down the business. I mean, shut down the exchange, and obviously the team moved into a completely different product, because when we realized this, every day was sort of a challenge fighting the regulations and all that. So in fact the team moved into an accounting tool. So that's when I felt my life has come to a full circle, because again,
Yeah.
now I have to go back to accounting. So I was with them for a very brief time, helping, because since I have some accounting background. Uh, from 2020, March of, I think, Feb, that's when the Supreme Court decision came in our favor, right? So since then, we've been completely into trading, fund management, and a bit of brokerage. Second half of 2020 is when Binance opened their P2P platform for Indians. So they had a pioneer program, which they were running. We were the winners of that program for doing the highest volume in India at that particular point of time. And early 2021 is when we realized that fund management is what we want to do. Helping people do better with their money is something that we want to do for the rest of our life. Instead of immediately starting up, what we did was we started preparing. As in, I took up this course called Chartered Market Technician, which is like a very professional. It's a professional course for traders. And my partner Asif, he took up MS in financial planning. So that significant amount of preparation that went into it before we began working on BitSave. The original plan was to start working somewhere mid of 2023, because we wanted to sort of do it as close to the bottom as possible. So that is where we had thought we would be able to launch. But when the FTX collapse happened last year, and when the prices hit around 14-15K for BTC, then we were like, okay, because the floor for us was that range, because Bitcoin historically have corrected 70-72%. So we knew that the price level that we are looking at is around 14K for BTC. So after the FTX collapse, we were like, okay, let's not delay it by another 6-7 months. Let's start working on the product. So last week of November 2022 is when we finally assembled a team. Again, it's all CoinEx spaces. Currently, the team size is 7 out of 7, 5 are ex-CoinEx. So it's for us, it's like coming back together and building something again. Right? So yeah, that's how we started back in 2014, and how we ended up building BitSave.
Great. And so I think this would be a good place where you can explain what is BitSave. The reason I'm asking, because people know about exchanges, and many people in crypto, it is their first investment. Like they never heard of an index fund.
Right.
So why don't you go ahead and explain what is BitSave in easiest, simplest manner possible? Yeah.
Right. I think a small correction is that BitSave is not really an index fund. BitSave is a platform for index funds.
Okay.
That's how we are looking at it. Probably down the line, we would not be restricting ourselves to index fund. You will have similar type of products that are coming out. Probably, I think the right way to say would be a crypto mutual fund platform, because that is the direction that we are looking at. Right. Why we started building BitSave, or why we ended up, choosing an index fund to start with, is because over the years, since we've been in the industry for so long, at least the people in our circle, obviously we would be the first choice for them to reach out, right, when they want to make an investment. Now we keep hearing this question of what to buy. Right? Which tokens to buy. Like back in 2017-18, it was very easy because exchanges had like 5 to 10 listings.
Okay.
Right now, if I send them to a CoinDCX, or if I send them to a Binance, what they're seeing is like 500 plus listing. Now, an average investor who doesn't understand how this industry works or how these projects work, it's practically not possible for them to make that choice. Right. And one more challenge which we found, especially in crypto, is that crypto is a largely narrative-based market. So what it means is that what looks good today may not look good, after 4 years. So if you go back in time, maybe if you go back 4 to 5 years, I think only 6 or 5 of the top 10 are still in top 10.
Yeah.
Others have either died, or for example, let's say the classic examples are Luna and FTX for that matter, right? Because all these were top 10 tokens and they're sort of dead right now. So we realize there is a problem when people are allocating even to the top projects in one cycle, their portfolio is not really moving in the next cycle because it's a new narrative, new set of new projects that are really performing well in the new, the next cycle. So that is where we started looking at how exactly we can solve this problem. And one thing we were very clear is that we don't want to do an exchange because we already have a number of exchanges out there. So we looked at how this problem is solved in the traditional industry, right? Like most people, I wouldn't say all of them, but majority of them that we know, they stay invested in the stock market through mutual funds. So they don't really go and pick a Tata or a Reliance directly. They prefer investing in a mutual fund. Now we looked at the mutual fund industry and then we realized that, let's say you take US, I think the top 3 or 4 mutual funds are all index funds. It's all based on S&P 500 and things like that. Even in India, the largest mutual fund is SPI Nifty 50 index fund. So again, it's an index fund. And we have enough data from the past, let's say decades of traditional finance industry that index over time, let's say if you take a time horizon of more than 10 to 15 years, index have always performed better than actively managed funds, where you are keeping on trading stuff because maybe for short term it makes a lot of sense, but you keep incurring a lot of fees, the taxation comes into play, a lot of things. So it's always better to just stay invested in the top projects as much as possible, right? So that is how people have been building wealth consistently over time in the traditional industry. And we realize that we don't really have a equivalent of that in crypto. If you go to US, you have companies like Bitwise and Galaxy doing the same thing, but it's limited to the HNIs or institutions for that matter. It's not really available for the retail. So that is the gap that we wanted to fill. And that is why we decided to start building BitSafe. Or let's say that is why we decided that index fund is what we want to start with. And now the challenge for us was, we've already seen players trying to solve this. But if you look at if you look at the traditional industry, how it works is that you always have a AMC, someone who is managing the asset for you, and you have an index provider. These are not really the same people. For example, in US, you have Vanguard S&P 500 index fund. So Vanguard is your asset manager, and S&P 500 is an index that is managed by S&P Global. Right? In India, you have SBI Nifty 50 index fund, where SBI is your fund manager, and Nifty 50 is an index that is managed by NSE. So this is how it's been traditionally. So we were also clear on the fact that index is not something that we want to manage. We wanted a recognized index provider to provide us with the index. So we listed down what are the best crypto indices that are out there. We shortlisted Bloomberg, Nasdaq, and S&P Global. And based on our research, we figured out that the Bloomberg index is much more superior than all the other ones out there. For a simple reason that it's more designed for portfolios. They even though FTX and Luna was a part of the top 10, they never selected these tokens as part of the index because they saw the risk. They saw the high risk, or the fundamental the whatever difficulties that these projects could potentially face in the future. So it's a very good index, and over I think in the last 3 or 4 years, the index have outperformed Bitcoin by some 200% or something. So we had enough data to that told us this is the index that we wanted to choose. So last year we initiated the conversation with Bloomberg, and we got the license from them. So it's a licensed product. Bloomberg has granted us the license to create a fund based on their index. So that is briefly about the fund that we have, or let's say the first offering that we have at BitSafe, right? So I think it's a very simple test that anyone can do, whether to know if you should invest into an index or not. Right. It's like you can just look at your portfolio, how it has performed, maybe in the last 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, and just compare it with the index. So let's say, for that matter, index have done, I think, 3.5x in the last 3.5 years. So if you, by actively trading or managing it by yourself, have not been able to do that, I think this is a product that you should consider. if you're actually generating more than that, well and good. I think you should just continue doing that, right? But I think from the data that we have and whatever that we get to know from our own circle, I think you will also be able to, relate to it, right? I would say like 70-80% of people are always at a loss, or it's very hard to, see people have made a lot of money in crypto, even though crypto have grown exponentially over the years, right? So that is the value this particular product is adding.
Right.
Now, coming to BitSave, right? Now, this is a product which you can actually find in the market. I'm pretty sure down the line you will have more players trying to offer you similar products. So that is where we, why BitSave matters. Why I have to talk about why you should choose BitSave, right? So first of all, I think we are one of the most transparent platforms out there that we have built, right? Because I'm pretty sure you also seen the app. Like we expose 100% of our portfolio. I mean, our wallets. So there isn't anything at any particular point of time that you have to, you have to trust us with. You can directly go to the blockchain and really see that we hold this much of assets, in our reserves. Secondly, one of the biggest argument towards proof of reserves over time was it's just one side of the balance sheet, right? Because it's just the asset side that you have. You don't really have any visibility of the liability side. So we went one step ahead. What we did is that we created sort of a proof of liabilities as well. So how we are doing it is it's an index fund, right? So when you're buying, when you're subscribing to the fund, you are actually issued an index unit. That's how it works in the traditional industry. And that's the exactly same thing that we're doing here also. So whenever we give you a unit of index, equivalent amount of token, an index token is minted on the blockchain. It's done on the Polygon blockchain. Similar to that, whenever you redeem the index unit for fiat back, equivalent amount of tokens are burned on the blockchain. So there is always that accounting that is happening directly on the blockchain. So how much we owe is also directly available on the blockchain. So what we have done on it's displayed within the BitSave app, both proof of assets and proof of liability. So you can view both of that. And we have really simplified the experience, I would say. I mean, it's like if you're actually someone who invests in mutual funds, on any other apps, and if you come to BitSave, you won't really be confused, because we have tried to keep the terms as similar as possible, so that it doesn't, you won't really get lost at any point within the product. So that is why I think we should really consider, if these are the things that that matters to you, I think you should really consider trying out the product.
Right. Let's answer two questions here. So for the first one, explain to me. So I'm looking at the app here. It shows that you can. You already spoke about proof of reserves. So it's there are various channels you can transfer the money through, right? I think UPI is one of them, correct? So
yeah, UPI is one of them.
Take us through the process. So I download the app BitSave, and then I connect my bank account and I transfer, let's say, about 1,000 INR. Is there a minimum requirement or something?
Yeah, so for the fund to start with, we for the first investment have to be 50 USDT.
50 USD, okay.
So the entry has to be 50 USDT. That's roughly around 4,500 to 5,000 in INR.
Yeah.
And once you make the first investment, from the subsequent investments can be as low as 10 USDT. So that is how we have designed it. So you can deposit INR. So INR is done through an on-ramp partner that we have called Alpine. So we have UPI, IMPS, and NEFT. So it's like an instant thing. Like you just have to transfer from your bank account through UPI or IMPS, and your BitSave wallet will get credited in a matter of, I guess, less than a minute. So you will have USDT in your BitSave wallet. Once you have USDT in the BitSave wallet, you can just go. And currently, we just have one fund. Like I mentioned, this is the Bloomberg crypto index fund that we have. Probably towards the end of the year, last 2 months is when we are looking at launching more funds on the platform. So currently, this one fund. So you can just go to the page. You can see all the historical performance of the fund. We actually launched it on 1st of March. So you can see how the fund performed from 1st of March. You can also, if you scroll down, you can see how the index have performed over the last 2 to 3 years. you will be able to see the expense ratio. We don't really charge any exit load, or there's no lock in. Like if you buy today, you can actually sell the very next day and withdraw the funds if you want to.
Great.
And all the holdings details, and we have even attached a document where we are talking about the entire thing. It's downloadable on the app.
Yeah.
You can actually see the whole how Bloomberg constructs the index, and a very detailed document on which really covers in and out of the product. So you just have to place a buy order using the USDT that you have. The only difference compared to buying on a exchange would be that you won't get the units instantly, because if you're someone who invests in mutual funds, you'll be aware of the fact that when you place an order, they take 1 to 2 days to process your order and issue you the units. That is because units are usually allotted at the end of the day, when the market closes or when the index is closing. So we have followed the same thing. So index is actually following the US market timing. The Bloomberg is actually following the US market timing to publish the value of the index. So if you place the order before our cutoff time, I'm talking in terms of Indian standard time. So cutoff time for us is 10:30 p.m. So if you place the order before 10:30 p.m., you will get the units at 1:30 p.m. So that is when the US market closes. So if you're placing the order after 10:30 p.m., you have to wait for the next day, the next night of one. So that there would be like some 27 hours in that case. So within 27 hours, you will get your units. So once units are allotted, you can again track how many units you got, what is your what is your average NAV. I think that NAV would also be a term that is only familiar to the mutual fund investors, not
Yeah.
really the crypto investors, right? So NAV is the value of the net asset value of the fund. That is the unit, that is the value of the one unit that you hold of the fund. So you will be able to see your average NAV, what the current value of it, every data that which you need to track stuff. So that is something that you can find on the app. So it's very simple. Like I think you can literally break it down to 3 steps. Like one, sign up, do the KYC. Again, I think it would take like 2 minutes. Deposit funds, it would take another 1 minute, and you can just place the order in another 1 minute. So if you really know what the product is, I think it's hardly going to take like 5 minutes because I even have the data. This was the LinkedIn post that I put out. I saw someone, since we can track the the data on the backend, I literally saw someone signing up, doing KYC, depositing, and placing an order in less than 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how simplified the experience is, on the platform.
Right. So I think something that you were mentioning earlier is that that if you have some funds and if you're a long-term investor, like let's say 2 years or 3 years, and if you're actively trading, or maybe you're a seasonal trader, have you been able to 3x your fund portfolio, right? So one of the major difference here and with you is custody. So you did mention about proof of reserve, where people can
Right.
see, but here they're giving you the custody of the funds, right? So do you want to talk about like how people would trust
Yeah.
BitSave with your money?
Right. So I think what this might be a bit controversial, but I am actually of the opinion that self custody is not for everyone. At
Yeah.
least I know, at least in my circle, this is my personal experience. You might have a different view. I've seen more people losing money trying to do self custody compared to keeping the funds on an exchange. For example, it's very common that I find friends saying that they formatted the phone where the key is saved within the phone. I know someone actually who lost 6 bitcoins just because he formatted his laptop with the key inside it. So what we are targeting is people who just want to put money and
Got it.
leave it, right? They don't
Got
want to keep a track of things. So we are clear about the fact that in the current version of the product, we don't want to encourage, or we don't want to put the burden of doing the custody to the client. So that's something that we have taken care of. Now, how we are ensuring the safety? Currently, we have the custody partner is Binance. So Binance is taking care of the custody. When I say Binance, it's a different entity that is taking care of. The name of the entity is called Sefu. So Sefu is the custody partner of Binance as an exchange. So that is the same custody partner that we also have. So we have really put forward all the authentications in place. So if anyone have to move the funds, at least 2 people from our team have to approve first, and they'll make sure that everything came from the whitelisted IPs and all that. And then they will approve it from their physical wallets. Actually, there is an analyst who will sit down there, verify everything that happened, and then approve the transaction. So there is, and again, withdrawals are only allowed to whitelisted addresses and all that. So all that steps that we have taken. So basically, if you're trusting Binance with your funds, it's the same level of security that BitSave also have at this particular point of time. Over time, what we are going to do is probably, change to a hybrid model where some of the funds will be parked in a very maybe a multi-sig wallets, like what exchanges most of the Indian exchanges are using. So those conversations are going on currently. Binance within the Cefu ecosystem, we have some operational leverage, because since we are, so Binance also our OTC partner, so all the trades are being also placed on Binance. So we can keep the operational expenses low. I mean, the gas fees and all those other stuff low. As we grow, we would be diversifying that risk and making sure that it's happening at a much safer level. So currently, it's completely in control of or with the custody of Binance, and it's a insured custody. I mean, they have insured, there's an insurance coverage for the custody, and also it is covered by the Binance Safu funds, which is like a $1 billion amount that they've kept. So if anything goes wrong at their end, they would be covering it with that particular fund. So that is how we are ensuring the safety at this particular point of time. And since you mentioned about the fact that, since you mentioned about self custody, I also want to highlight that at least for Indians, an index fund would be a tax efficient product. What I mean by tax efficiency is that, let's say if you're trying to do it yourself, how it goes into your ITR would be, I bought Bitcoin at this price and I sold Bitcoin at this price and I made a profit. I bought Ether at this price and I sold Ether at this price. I made a loss. So you can't really set that off, right? So and every year, for whatever adjustment that you make for your own portfolio, you'll end up, some part of it would go to the government as tax. But if you're investing in BitSave, what you're essentially investing into is a index token that we are actually giving you, it's actually on the blockchain, right? So let's say if you're someone who is targeting the top 10 or 15 crypto assets, I would say instead of that 15 assets going separately into your ITR, it can just be one entry where you say, I bought BitSave index token at this NAV and I sold it at this NAV, and this is my profit, this is my tax, right? So whatever adjustment that happens in the back end, for that matter, we rebalancing the fund, maybe, if one project is dying, or let's say if it's not performing well, Bloomberg will obviously remove it from the index and add a new product, something that is performing well back to the index, right? So all these happens at the fund manager. I mean, at our level, you don't really have to be bothered about how these things work. So I think over time, net of fees, even if you consider that, I think if you consider the fact that you'll have to pay a major chunk of your portfolio will go as fees to the government every year. I think this makes a lot more sense, because here, I would say most of the funds, let's say 100% of your capital would stay invested for long term. So if you're looking at anything about 4 to 5 years in crypto, I think you should really consider something like this instead of trying to, manage it on your own.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. So I think everything is risky, custodian and self-custody, or even keeping with exchange. So I think everyone should be diversified a little bit, maybe a little bit custody and self-custody as well. So yeah, I think we will wrap this up. So I think there are a few minutes left for this call. So this has been a great introduction to what is BitSave, but I highly recommend everyone to download the app, go on the website, read the documents before and understand the product really. And I'm sure you have a way to reach out to if someone
we have. So the best part is that we do assign a relationship manager to all the clients. Like you don't really have to go raise a support ticket and wait for 24 hours to 24 to 48 hours. The moment you sign up on the app, I think if it's during the work hours, within an hour or two, our relationship manager will reach out to you. So you'll always have someone to take care of it. And I can guarantee one thing: there will never be any unanswered question. You can always reach out to us on any of the platforms, and as a platform, we don't really have anything to hide, right? It's a very simple model that we've created, and it's very important for us to be as transparent as possible in the current environment, right? So you will have literally all your questions answered. So that is something that I can personally guarantee. And at the same time, the goal is to build a very authentic platform, where you feel safe, you and we really want to build this with the community, unlike because next month we are launching a referral program which
Hmm.
is similar to the mutual fund distribution program, which works on the base of something called a trail commission. So let's say if you refer someone, you have an opportunity to earn lifetime,
Got it.
on person's AUM every month. It will be like a paycheck that you get every month.
Hmm.
So that is something. So even if you feel that BitSave is not a product for you to invest, there's still a way to associate with us. In the form of we'll announce, we'll have an ambassador program and VIP program and all that. So those things we'll be announcing in the coming weeks.
Got it. So I think that's great, and yeah, I mean these are the good things. I mean, referral program is always very lucrative. I mean, if you like the product, then you want others to try. It's simple as
Yeah,
that, right?
exactly. Yeah, and we want to reward you.
Exactly.
That's why I said we look forward to building this whole brand and the product together with the community.
Amazing. Zakir, it's been awesome. Thank you so much for being here, and I recommend everyone to go ahead and check out the link. I'll post the link in the description. Thank you so much, Zach. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so
See
much,
you.
Sev. Yeah, take care.
Bye.
Cheers.